So what now? I told you that I dropped dead and I woke up in the hospital and I had a not very ladylike question come bursting out of my mouth. So what happened next? Because obviously I'm sitting here talking to you today, so I didn't die, it didn't stick. I like to say it didn't stick because I wasn't ready to go yet. And that's the story for another day. But what the heck did I do? What happened next? Well, the first thing I started doing once I got out of the hospital, I stayed actually at my parents' house. They were heading back to their Florida house for the winter. So they allowed me to just go ahead and stay at their house. They stayed at their house and they took care of me because it was close to town where I had to go for cardiac rehab. And it just made it logistically more sensible. And there were a lot of things in my life that I knew needed to change. Obviously, work was going well and I was working. So finances and work I had down pat, but pretty much every other area of my life was totally out of control. My relationship was out of control with my husband. My health was obviously totally out of control. And, my physical well-being was out of control. My mental well-being was assuredly out of control as part of the physical being out of control. And then just the situation that I'd just been through. And I started looking for answers. I couldn't drive or go anywhere. So I spent the next 6 months really diving in and studying and trying to figure out what the heck happened to me and why it happened to me. And I'm not going to bore you with all the details of all the woo-woo things that I studied and found out, but it was really incredibly enlightening, incredibly educational, and really interesting. And it opened me up to things that I had never even considered possible before. And I had to start making massive changes in all the areas of my life because part of my research led me to discover that the vast majority of people that have a sudden cardiac arrest die within 3 to 6 years of that event, unless they make massive lifestyle changes. So I started making massive lifestyle changes. The first area I started making lifestyle changes in was, of course, my health, because that was obviously the biggest, most burning, urgent thing and stop sign in my life. So I started eating right, taking care of myself, really paying attention to what I was eating, because before I didn't really eat. I lived pretty much on jalapeno chips and diet pop. And that wasn't very healthy. And I would not eat all day long because I was running. And then at night, right before I went to bed, I would eat something, which again, isn't really very healthy. I mean, we know these things. I knew these things. I knew them. I knew not ever exercising was bad for me. I knew not eating all day long was bad for me. Yet I made excuses and I did other things and I set other priorities above myself and my health and well-being. So the first area I had to attack was my health. And, I did cardiac rehab and all the things I had to do. And then I set a goal that I was going to, I looked for people that were healthy because I wanted to make sure I wasn't dead in 3 to 6 years. So I looked for people to model that were behaving and living the lifestyle that I wanted to live. And I discovered that they exercise a lot. And so I decided I was going to exercise every day for a year. So that was the first thing I decided about my life. The second thing was I dropped and made a massive change in the type businesses I was going to participate in and run from that point forward. I immediately stopped doing all of the real estate businesses I was doing with my ex-husband and pulled myself out of all those businesses because the role I played in those businesses was really important, but it was also for me and my values and my being. I found the work soul-sucking, and every day I dreaded it. And although I was really good at it, I hated every single moment of it and every single second of it. So that was eating away at my mind and my well-being because I knew it wasn't a values match for me. I loved helping people that were in distress. I hated dealing with the banks and the loss mitigators and the lawyers and the title companies and all of the games that were played by so many parties in the whole housing crisis. And that's the part I was doing for our real estate businesses. That was my major role, was that. And it was bad for me. It's like I know I could never be a psychiatrist or a psychologist because I'm too empathetic. I feel too bad for the people that I'm talking to and working with. So business and wealth changes. So I had changes in the area of my health. I had changes in the area of my wealth. And the biggie, I had changes in the area of my relationship. I actually had my husband move out. I stayed in my parents' house for the 6 months that I couldn't drive. And then when I moved back into my house, I had my husband leave. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And there's a lot behind that. And there's, a lot of guilt over having a failed marriage, because I always thought I would be married once and that would be it for my entire life. But that's not the way things always work out. And that's not because of us and who we are. Sometimes it's because of the choices that another person makes. So health, wealth, and relationships, I was making massive changes in them all. And what I discovered was that not everybody wanted to see me change in a lot of areas. The ex-husband didn't want me to stop doing real estate. The ex-husband didn't want me to kick him out of the house necessarily. My health didn't necessarily want to exercise every day or eat right or, give up coffee and diet pop and things. And actually, I had given up diet pop a month before I had my sudden cardiac arrest. I think that all the formaldehyde and chemicals that I had consumed over the decades prior probably had something to do with me still being here, because I think I was just well preserved. So health, wealth, and relationships, all those areas of my life took massive changes and massive hits. And the biggest shock to me was that everybody that was close to me didn't want to see me succeed in any or all of those areas. And I realized that it was up to me 100% to know that I was capable of choosing and creating the life that I wanted, no matter what anybody else thought or anybody else told me. Remember when I told everybody that I was going to exercise every day for a year? No, come on. These are my friends and family. They know me. They know that I hadn't really done any on-purpose exercise since college and since my kids were born. So it had been 17 years at that point. And so most of them had seen me and known me for 17 years of not doing anything. And they're like, yeah, you're not going to do anything. Because even when we went on family vacations and things, I would stay back and cook and do stuff and get ready for things. Well, Brian, my ex-husband, and the kids would go do the active hiking and stuff. And I would do some of it. But if I had a way to get out of it, I would find a way to get out of it. And I would read and work on things that I was interested in while I had a little bit of free time, and then cook meals and things, or do laundry or whatever. But that was the biggest aha to me, was that people that we love and care about don't necessarily understand when we change and grow. So tomorrow, I am going to tell you what happened as I went through that transition, because I'm through that transition now, and where I am now and why I'm doing what I'm doing now, because that's, of course, part of the story. Go out, make it a fantastic day, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow. Bye.